Hello everyone, I'm Dante and this is Dante Dakada. Welcome back to the channel. I'm a teacher, expat vet based out of Tokyo, Japan, and I am happy you're joining me today. The motto of this channel is there are stories everywhere, and I have some stories for you today. But of course, before all of that, make sure you subscribe for, a little bit of everything. I've been on a visual story kick as of late after talking a lot, but this one's going to be a talkie vlog. But anyway, if you're interested in teaching life, expat life, veteran life, Japan stuff, obviously, then of course subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. And of course, comment. What do you like? What do you think? Am I stupid? All those things are welcome below. So today we're going to be talking about my last week, and it was super busy. And I'll probably do a different kind of video next week, like the video journal, that's on my front page or my top video or whatever. However, I am going to talk a little bit about what happened this week in this one, and you'll see the visuals for it at another time. But I said goodbye to my third year students this week. And it was really hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. The hardest thing I have to do every year, I should say. Hardest thing I have to do is say goodbye to my grandmother. But the hardest thing to do every year is saying goodbye to my students, and it only gets harder as the years have gone by. And this year was the hardest, and I think the reason why this year was the hardest was because I actually, every year, I was with these students every year, but these students were special because these students were the last students whose faces I had seen. You see, because of coronavirus, everyone has been in masks since, 2 years ago. And right now I'm a second year and third year teacher, but my third year students, I saw them without masks for most of the year. And then Corona hit in February. School year finished unceremoniously. And then they came back and it was mass ever since. And unless we did online classes, which we did a little bit of, I didn't really see their faces. And as far as my, at the time, first years, now they're second year students, mostly haven't seen their faces at all either. So we're dealing with a situation where they're truly special because they're the last students that I got to see smile. But my message to them was, I always have a different message for each class, a different feeling for each class, so it always goes differently. But for this particular class, I gave them some advice, and I'll share it here. But before I say all that, I take my job as a teacher very seriously, and some people, they just say, oh, it's an ALT job, you need to just read the textbook, or you need to be a tape recorder, or something like that. But I do a lot more than just the ALT stuff in my school. My school gives me a lot of responsibility because I have asked for more responsibility, and I have put myself in a position of trust where I can be trusted with more responsibility. So when I give these messages to students, it's not just keep speaking English. It's more about life and how to maneuver in that space. So the three things I said to my students this year was, number one, wake up every day and ask yourself, are you happy? Because I see people on the train every day that look miserable. And maybe they aren't, but there's a lot to be miserable about. Economy, coronavirus, hours, labor, labor disputes. There's just so many things to be unhappy about. War, that, the little things that you can do to make yourself happy, you should find those things. But first, it comes with a simple assessment of, are you happy? So I told my students to ask themselves that. Because their happiness is the most important thing. Everything stops and goes with their happiness. They should not settle for a life that's less than that minimum standard of being happy. The second bit of advice I gave them is to say thank you. And when I say thank you, I don't mean just like, oh, thank you very much and having manners, but I mean thank somebody for their presence and their time and show them that you care. Show them that you are thankful that those people are in your lives, no matter how small or trivial it might be. You don't know what someone else is going through. You don't know somebody else's feelings. And that little thing that you say could be the thing that makes someone else happy who otherwise woke up this morning and said they are not happy. And then the third thing that I said, and it changed between two classes. One class I said keep learning because they were a more studious class. But the last thing I said to most of the classes was laugh. Laugh every day, at least one time. Laugh. And they thought it was funny, but I was like, no, think about it. Really think about it. Can you be unhappy while laughing? I mean, yeah, you could laugh ironically, but most of the time, a real laugh is like chocolate. It's sweet. It gives you energy. It's the best thing in the world. And I told them, and I'm completely honest here, there has not been a single day that I've taught, not one day that I've taught, that I wasn't completely happy being in the classroom and that I wasn't laughing. Like, rain or shine, online classes, in-person classes, grammar classes, reading classes, tests, no tests, I laugh. I'm happy to see them. I'm thankful, and I tell them that I'm thankful for them. And I believe that those three things, and of course there are some others that I could have said or that you can possibly say, but I think those three things really key in on what my biggest fear for them is. And my biggest fear for them is they go on to live the lives that someone else wants them to live. Or they live the lives that, will make them the most money in the world, but won't make them the most happy. And if I'm the one voice, and I'm hoping that they'll have others, but if I'm just one voice that tells them, no, you do that thing that makes you happy. Like, you take that trip. You study that thing that you want to study. Don't study what everyone else tells you to study. Like, I could make a bunch of jokes about meaningless degrees. International relations, I have that degree. Library science, though librarian's a great job. English degree, but I'm an English teacher. Like, there are plenty of quote-unquote meaningless degrees, but is it really meaningless to study something that makes you happy? Yeah, like, jobs are important, but we should be focusing on what we want to do as far as our passions are concerned. And I don't want them to fall into the trap of trying to find a good company to retire in at 20, 22 years old. Hey, I found this company. I want to retire with this company. Like, yo, are you happy with that company? Like, is that your dream? Like, to just work for a marketing firm at a black company for 12 hours a day, 5 days a week? Hopefully you'll get a bonus in December, and maybe the pension will exist after 45 years of hard work? Bro, that sounds crazy. And that was all I could say to them. I did a quick survey at the end. I've had them put their heads down. I was like, from 0 being you did not understand me at all to 10, you understood everything I said. Where are you on the spectrum? And I went from 0 to 10 and had them raise their hand. And most of the students landed in the 6 to 10 range. So even when they didn't understand everything I said, they understand the feeling or the summary of what I said. And of course, like one of the Japanese teachers of English that I work with, he did a quick translation, and anyone who wasn't on board, they're on board. And yeah, I mean, that was the most important part of my week. There's a lot of other things that happened, and I'm looking forward to sharing those with you in a visual story, aesthetic vlog. I don't know what we're calling those now. A visual diary. But I really wanted to key in on the fact that like this job to me is more than just textbooks and statistics and games. This is my love. Like, this is my passion. Like, there's nothing that I love more than standing in front of a classroom and saying good morning, good afternoon, how are you? And just teaching. And I know there's some people out there that have a beef with the way I do what I do, but what I do quite well. And that sounds arrogant, but really, I'm pretty confident in the fact that statistically, my students are better than average in the prefecture, way better than average. I have more students passing, more tests. Like, I have more students saying that they are happy. They're excited about joining English. That's a survey that happens every year. Like, are you excited? 98% say yes. 98%, that's an A. So if 98% of my students say that they're happy with my classes, they're happy with what they're learning, that they're excited about coming, I don't give a shit what anybody else says. Like, as long as my principal, my colleagues, and my kids are happy, you can't tell me anything. All right, well, enough of that diatribe. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about the daily events, or rather the events that are coming as far as the school year is concerned, of course, leave your comments below as far as that's concerned. But I also want to know about your graduation. Was there a piece of advice that somebody gave you that kind of stuck with you? I know for me, I didn't really get any advice. No teachers really took an interest in me, which is why I think I'm so passionate about taking an interest in my students, because I want them to have what I didn't have. Ain't that like an old guy to say? If I was a dad, it would be, I want my son to have what I didn't have, or my daughter to have what I didn't have. But since I don't have kids, I want my students to have what I never had. Anyway, there's stories everywhere, and I'm happy that you're a part of mine. I'm Dante. This was Dante Dakara. Until next time, later.